on in, everybody. Some of them can join the mayor and the chief. Well, good morning, everybody. I want to thank the mayor and the chief for hosting us. We appreciate it very much. And we've come together today to provide an update on our public safety partnership here in Dayton and to talk about the situation in regard to violent crime. Probably the most important function of government is to protect people, and that's really what we're about today. Partnerships that we're going to describe today are so vitally important. Ohio is a local government state. We don't have a state police, but we have the State Highway Patrol. We have over 900 police agencies throughout the state of Ohio. What we have found is that when groups come together and work together, it gives us our best chance at protecting people and our best chance at going after the violent repeat offenders. Early in our administration, I asked the Ohio State Highway Patrol to prioritize their support of local law enforcement, to share technology, to share intelligence, manpower, and other resources to help local agencies keep their residents safe. And actually, Dayton was one of the first law enforcement agencies to take us up on this offer, which we appreciate very much. So there's already a long-established relationship between the Ohio State Highway Patrol, the Dayton Police Department, and the other local and federal partners who are here with us today. What's new today, though, is that we're announcing an enhanced collaboration that includes the investment of new state resources to conduct focused, data-driven violent crime reduction operations. This truly is a team effort. Involves a number of different departments. Now, let me talk about the members of this team. Locally, we of course have the Dayton Police Department as well as Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. At the state level is the Ohio State Highway Patrol, plus the 3 additional agencies that we're now supporting this work. 1, the Ohio Investigative Unit, 2, the Ohio Narcotics Intelligence Center, and 3, the Ohio Adult Parole Authority. Federal law enforcement partners are very important. The ATF, FBI, U.S. Marshal's Office. I also want to mention the Montgomery County Prosecutor's Office, as well as the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Ohio. They are certainly part of this partnership. To the repeat violent offenders who continuously disregard the law and illegally carry guns, we have this as a warning today. We're using the combined expertise of every one of these agencies to find you, to put you in jail, to put you in prison, and get you out of the community. This work is already underway, and we're doing this for the long term. It's not just a one-and-done operation. So let me break our state support down. First, the Ohio State Highway Patrol Aviation Unit. The best way to explain how the Ohio State Highway Patrol is supporting this work is to show you. The patrol's aviation team gives meaning to the phrase, "You can run, but you cannot hide." So we have 2 videos to show you all this morning. In the first, Dayton police spot a stolen car and try to stop it, but the driver flees. Ultimately, criminals aged 15 and 17 are arrested after the attempt to ditch a gun. Let's see the video.
Yeah, it's gonna flee. It almost struck 2 vehicles there. Watch yourselves. Should have good sticks on the left front. Okay, 2 are bailing. I'm with the driver. Eastbound, they're both heading eastbound. They're gonna come over a fence over toward Phillips. They're sticking together. One of them has a backpack. Okay, they're gonna come back at 1118 Epworth. They're coming in the side door. Okay, I marked that. I think they just threw something in the side door there. 118 Epworth. They're trying to get in the back door.
Hands up, man. Put your hands up. Hands up. Come out here. Both of you lay down. Lay down right now. Lay down right now. Lay down. Both of you lay down right now. Lay.
Okay, he's got one on the ground, fighting with one. The other one's running back. Units, turn around, right behind you. Turn around, turn around, turn around.
Hey, stop!
Front yard there.
Get on the ground!
Give me commands now.
As you just saw, really a great thing about having the patrol in the air is they eliminate the need for dangerous road pursuits on the ground. To me, this is one of the most important things of having that helicopter up there. And you can see how this works. And you can see there's a very, very close working relationship between the Highway Patrol that's in the air. May also have a Dayton PD person in that helicopter as well, with the Dayton PD on the ground. And I think you can see how that coordination works just so amazingly well. We don't have to have a ground, much of a ground pursuit by car. You don't have to have that. And you saw in this case that was not required at all. When we hear about gun violence, those responsible are quite often individuals already prohibited from carrying a gun due to a previous felony conviction or because they're under the age of 18. In this next example, Dayton police get a call of shots fired, and our patrol aviation team quickly spots two people leaving the area, one of whom unsuccessfully tries to hide a firearm that he was not legally allowed to possess anyway.
Crews be advised, the shooting just hit the board 549 Huron. I don't have any further yet.
I got two people walking out of the back of that address right now. They're going southbound through an alley between Huron and Wool. Okay. Yeah, they just dropped the gun. I'll walk you onto it when you get over there. Okay, now they're running northbound through the same alley. That one right there. Down to your right side, under whatever that is there, they threw something under whatever that piece is there. Yep, right there. Looks like it's 547, 549, I think it's.
So, just to be clear, these teams are really not blanketing the city looking for everyone they can arrest. These are very, very targeted operations. They're focused, they're data-driven, they're intelligence-driven operations. It's using the intelligence of the Dayton PD and as well as the intelligence of the state. Let me talk for a moment about the Ohio Narcotics Intelligence Center. This is a center that we established. This new state agency support, the new state support from the Ohio Narcotics Intelligence Center really pairs our state intelligence analysts with Dayton's intelligence team to focus in on the areas of the city where the data shows the most crime. Again, these are targeted operations, not just sweeping through. They're very, very, very targeted, and they're data-driven. They're also narrowing in to locate the repeat violent offenders who are behind most of the crime in the city. And Dayton's no different than any other city. You expect to find this a relatively small number of people commit most of the violent crime in every city in the state of Ohio. We know who these individuals are. It's actually, as I said, a smaller number of people than you might think. Let's go to the first chart. New statewide data from the Ohio Department of Public Safety going back to 1974. 1974 to 2023 reaffirms what I've been saying for a long time and what every police officer who is out there in a city can tell you. And that is, it's a small group of people who are responsible for most of the violent crime in the state of Ohio. These latest numbers show that less than 1% of Ohio's adult population was arrested for a violent crime or weapons offense. DPS's analysis found that 69% of individuals arrested for a violent crime between 1974 and 2023 had been arrested more than once. 69%. Now look at this, however. When you focus on the repeat offenders arrested 5 times or more, they constitute a third of all arrests. A third of all these individuals have been arrested 5 times or more. Now let's look at people arrested specific on weapons charges. Again, these are individuals who have a weapon who are not legally allowed to have a weapon, either because of age or in most cases because of prior convictions. When looking just at weapons offenses, 81% of people arrested are repeat offenders. 81%. They've been arrested 2 times or more. Now, focusing on those arrested 5 times or more, 50% of all people arrested on weapons charges over the last 49 years are repeat offenders who have been arrested at least 5 times before. Under Ohio law, if you've already been convicted of a violent crime in the past, you can't carry a firearm, period. No exceptions. But so many people do it anyway. So it makes sense for us to focus in on authority. As part of this enhanced partnership, our adult parole authority an extra time to locate individuals who've been released from prison after serving their time, but where they have fled. And thus, because they fled, they violated the terms of their post-release control. They'll also be working on more unannounced visits with former inmates who haven't absconded, who haven't taken off, but are frankly at a high risk to offend. And we can tell the high risk. There's a metric that enables us to more target on those particular individuals. Let me talk now about the third unit, the Ohio Investigative Unit. These are generally referred to, I think, by the public as liquor control agents. Liquor control agents with the Ohio Investigative Unit will also be part of these operations. They enforce Ohio's liquor laws and can make arrests anywhere that liquor is sold in the state. Oftentimes, they'll find patrons illegally carrying guns on the premises. And every illegally possessed gun we can get off the streets is a gun that won't be used to hurt someone in the future. In just a moment, I'm going to turn it over to the mayor, but I do want to stress that crime only isn't an issue in Dayton. Partnerships like this are not unique to Dayton alone, although we've had this partnership with Dayton for some period of time, and we appreciate that very, very much. We have a number of violent crime reduction operations in cities across the state of Ohio. So far, they've led to nearly 500 felony arrests this year and more than 150 illegally possessed guns taken out of circulation. So we're very appreciative of all of our partners statewide who have dedicated themselves to this mission. And again, I'll emphasize the importance of that partnership. We'll start with the mayor, then the chief, then Colonel Jones, Andy Wilson then Colonel Jones, and then we'll open it up for questions. Mayor?
First of all, I'll say again, good morning. No response, good morning?
Good morning.
Okay, and again, thank you to the governor for the homework that they've done. I'll say about 2 years ago, being part of the Mayor's Alliance, the U.S. Conference of Mayors, as well as some other groups, working and with mayors in Kansas City, Cleveland, Columbus, and other places, we sent a letter to the governor talking about the challenges that we had in our cities. And a couple of years ago, he did invite us to his home to talk about those issues. So we met for probably about 2 hours talking with, again, the governor and some of the support staff that he had, including Andy Wilson, about some of the challenges that we have. One of the things that I asked him in real specific terms, real specific language, that as we work to continue to project and protect the investments that the governor is making across the state of Ohio, in terms of knowing that the large cities are the greatest economic drivers as far as the state of Ohio is concerned. And while we've been working very well in terms of being the leader here in Dayton in terms of job growth in the region over the last 10 years, but we talked about the aspect of how we need to have his support to help us protect those investments. The investments that we've gotten in the course of the strong work that we had in partnership with our business community and others to make sure that we're continuing to move the economic needle in the right direction as far as the city of Dayton is concerned. We've been leading, again, you heard me say a few moments ago, in terms of job growth, but also seeing a median income increase of almost $20,000 just in the last 10 years. We have to keep those things going. And as the governor mentioned before, one of the biggest things that we can do in terms of government is keep our people safe. That's a major, major investment that we have as far as the city of Dayton is concerned to follow up on the process. You heard them mention, again, in some of my notes here, say that we reduced violent crime by 17%, but I heard just a few moments ago before we came in here, it's 18% now. We looked at some data that I think that was raised earlier this year, talking about some of the data between 23 and 24 that was not as positive. But one crime is one crime too many. One loss of life is one loss of life too many. I know when we had a situation here last year, I had to talk about the death of a young man, 16 years old, and later on that day, I was trying to figure out how I could celebrate my granddaughter's birthday, who was 16 years old on that same day. A major transition mentally for me as mayor and also as a grandparent, to look at how we have this responsibility of taking care of our young people as well. So this situation, to me, is very important. It's very important, more so than a lot of people realize, in how we make things happen. So when we talked to the governor about that, some of the kind of things that he said here a few moments ago were some of the kinds of responses that he said that we're making. Some of the issues in terms of dealing with technology. We talked a lot about the relationship that he has with our police chief here in Dayton, and the police chief, of course, Andy Wilson, who works for the governor. We talked about a young man, or several young men, I think it was, that had been involved in a murder here in the city of Dayton. And then we found that individual in Cleveland because of the strong correlation that we had in terms of sharing information and using technology and using data. Some of these efforts have also led us to be challenged in terms of how we put things together, dealing with the things such as NATO, keeping all the 13,000 people seemed like they were here. I think it was 1,300. I won't say 13,000. 1,300 people who were here being safe in that space as well. The Real-Time Crime Center has been a major, major factor that we also involved here in the city of Dayton to make sure that we're able to look at some of these situations, much like a crime center in other places, some of the things you see on TV sometimes in terms of some of the command centers that you see. We're advanced to that point right here in the city of Dayton as well. Being able to look and have some almost 60 cameras just downtown to look at things that are happening and giving alerts to some of the kinds of things that our police can do even beforehand, before there's a crime committed. Many times they're able to move into those spaces and be able to prevent some of those kinds of things from happening. I think additionally, when we look at these situations, you've seen and heard us also say that we've been able to apprehend individuals a lot quicker, if you will, because of some of the technology that we're using in those spaces. You know, building 2 new police stations, one in center downtown and one moving another one onto another area in East 3rd or West 3rd Street here in the city of Dayton, also supports us and supports our police in terms of moving again with the major, major emphasis on keeping our people safe. So these things are extremely, extremely important for us. I think I want to make sure that I'm not missing any notes and things I'm supposed to say, but I think the collaboration is something that is extremely important. Being able to use technology with the drones and that type of network also, as you heard, puts us in a situation where we are protecting our police as well as citizens because we're not involved in a lot of high-speed chases because we got the, as you saw on the screen, a lot of the ability to apprehend individuals just by looking and seeing where they are, and again, being able to protect a lot of the innocent bystanders who will be in some of those spaces as our police do the very important work that they have to do, again, to keep our citizens safe. So I'm going to stop right there, again, pass it over to the chief, and if we have any additional questions, but then sure we'll be here to take care of those. Thank you again for being here.
Well, good morning. My name is Karaman Afzal. For those that might not know me, I'm the police chief in Dayton. I've been here for 4 years. To be honest, Governor DeWine and Mayor Mims just took all my thunder. All the thing that I was going to talk about, they've already spoken. So I'll try to keep it short. I do want to thank Governor DeWine, the partnership that under his administration that we've had with Dayton Police and law enforcement in general has been outstanding. I definitely want to appreciate Director Wilson and Colonel Jones, who have been great partners. Some of these operations that might seem new, they really are not new. As I was talking to our staff with the assist of aviation, we were, I believe, the first agency in Ohio, my understanding is that in 2017, that we started using aviation as an asset. So instead of trying to go after individuals that we know are going to run and cause havoc, so instead of doing that, just having the helicopter or one of the aviation assets kind of watch them, and if you saw a couple of the videos, without that, a lot of the operations that we do would not have been possible. And to be honest, our partnership with our state patrol partners even goes back further. I think early 2000s, really related to our traffic issues. Our traffic service unit and patrol has been partnered with each other for a lot of years. We get a lot of grants. I mean, to this day, we partner for getting individuals off the streets who are driving recklessly or are driving under the influence of alcohol or any other intoxicant. You heard a lot about crime and our approach. Our approach, as my boss, WC Manager Parlett, reminded me that I have a saying that instead of fishing with the net, we want to fish with the spear. So some of the assets the commission has approved under the leadership of Mayor Mims, and really do appreciate that, has helped us in really focusing our efforts when we do have victimization. And I think part of the crime stats we want to talk about is really about victimization and the fact that we have victims in our community and how do we speak for them. For offenders, we have a U.S. Constitution. We have to follow those rules to the T. I think a lot of times what gets missed is that for every person that we're trying to go after, there are several victims who that they're victimized, and we want to make sure that the victimization stops. Our numbers, I think Mayor Mims talked about that we are down about 18% in almost every category for violent crime. For shooting into habitations, over the last 2 years, we're down 41%. That's when somebody's house is shot. Those are great things, but the job isn't done by any stretch of the imagination. We want to make sure that we have no crime. The initiative that the commission and the mayor started on the peace campaign, trying to make Dayton the safest city possible in the world, not just in the U.S. I think that's our focus, and our part is to play for those that do not want to go along with the social order, and they want to violate the social order. Our job is to again then go try to apprehend them, bring them to justice. In that sense, I want to thank our own prosecutors at the state level and also at the federal level, depending on the nature of the crime. Sometime it will go federal, sometime it will go state. Lastly, I want to mention that our team now, we are looking at all of our crime data over the last several years to see what kind of connectivity can we make. So Governor DeWine talked about ONIC, so I really want to thank the staff at ONIC with our own analyst and analysts at ONIC. We're looking at making sure that when we do have tragedies like somebody's life is taken, when somebody's house is shot, or when somebody is shot non-fatally, are there links among individuals that might be operating as a criminal enterprise? And if they are, then we're going to go after them. Our message is clear, as the governor said, that if you're going to commit crimes, we're not going to sit idly by and let you be okay, right? If you today stop doing everything, then we're okay. But if you're going to continue some of the things that we're seeing, our job is to do our part and move them forward in the criminal justice system and present cases to prosecutors, and then let them present cases to the judges and juries to make sure that they are held responsible and the victims are made whole. So I do want to appreciate all the help. And I know Marshal Black is here. We have a great partnership with Marshal Black, and also I saw Chief Roy back there from Sheriff's Office, because this is definitely a collaboration with different municipalities that work in conjunction with each other in Miami Valley. So great partnership. With that, I'm going to give the floor to Director Wilson.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Mayor Mims. Listen, it's an honor to be here this morning talking about how together as a team we're working to protect the Miami Valley and the citizens of Dayton. And I have had the opportunity to be in the command center when we do these operations. I've been there for the operational briefs. And I can tell you, I go all over the state and I work on these initiatives all over the state. What you have here in Dayton, what you have here in the Miami Valley is one of the best examples of collaboration. Everybody works well together. Everybody is rowing in the same direction with a single goal of keeping people safe. And it's certainly exemplified by the people that we have standing up here with us today. An important part of the statewide violent crime reduction initiative is transparency and keeping the public informed of the results of our efforts in each city across Ohio. To accomplish this goal, we are tracking the results of each operation and making those results available to the public. To that end, today I want to announce that the Ohio Department of Public Safety has created a website, publicsafety.ohio.gov/VCI. publicsafety.ohio.gov/VCI, like Violent Crime Initiative. We created that so all Ohioans can find information on how the initiative is helping to keep them safe by removing violent offenders off the streets. The website has 3 parts to it. The main page includes a summary of the violent crime reduction initiatives and cumulative statistics year to date regarding the number of felony arrests, the number of felony warrants served, recovered firearms, and recovered stolen vehicles. The page also includes video playlists, just like you saw right there, so the public can see what officers are facing when they make an arrest. Additionally, there's a list, again, like you see up there right now, there's a list of partner agencies involved in these initiatives. We want the public to see the different law enforcement entities, the different groups that are working together to keep them safe. The next part of the page is the offender page. And that page on the website includes detailed information about who was arrested and what for during violent crime reduction initiatives in Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Dayton. Those arrested are grouped according to city, and by clicking on an individual's name, the public will be able to access specific information about an offender, including any prior offense or any prior offenses. And again, that's important. It's important because we want the public to see what we are dealing with or what you are dealing with or the people who are actually committing these offenses in your community. The site also shows whether or not an offender arrested on one of our initiatives has been let out on bond. The final part, or the final page, is the news page on the website, and that will include links to news releases about the violent crime reduction initiatives across the state over the past 2 months. The public can click on each of these releases to access video and photos from specific operations, learn stories behind the capture of the offenders, and find out which law enforcement partners were involved. We will continue to update the website with information from each violent crime reduction initiative in the future. We think it's incredibly important for the public to see the great work being done by law enforcement to keep them safe. We also think that there needs to be some level of transparency with respect to what is happening in these cases. Far too often, our brave men and women of law enforcement are out there on the streets risking their lives to get these dangerous offenders off the streets, only to have the court give a low bond or a weak sentence, which allows that offender to go right back in the community and commit more crimes. We want the public to have the full picture of what is happening in these cases from arrest all the way through sentencing. This website will help make that information available to all Ohioans. Thank you. I'm going to introduce Colonel Jones from the State Highway Patrol.
Good morning. I'm Colonel Charles Jones, the Superintendent of the Ohio State Highway Patrol. At the heart of everything we do is a simple, powerful belief. Every person in Ohio, including every family member here in Dayton, deserves to be safe. Safe in their homes, and safe in their neighborhoods, and safe in their daily routines. Safety isn't just a statistic, it's a promise. A promise that when you walk your child to school, when you drive to work, or when you sit on your front porch, you can do so without fear. On behalf of the Ohio State Highway Patrol, I want the people of Dayton to know that we care deeply about this community. We understand the toll violent crime takes, the pain it brings to families, and the disruption it causes to futures. And that understanding drives our commitment to take meaningful action and support the people who live and work here. That commitment is reflected in the leadership of Governor Mike DeWine, who has made reducing violent crime and strengthening community safety a priority of his administration. Governor DeWine recognizes that a strong quality of life begins with security, and he continues to support strategies that bring federal, state, and local law enforcement together with one unified mission: safer communities for every Ohioan. As part of this work, the Ohio State Highway Patrol, in partnership with federal and local agencies, will be conducting coordinated violent crime reduction operations in the Dayton area. These efforts are designed to enhance the outstanding work already being done by Dayton area law enforcement and to bring additional tools and resources to help reduce violence and prevent victimization. This model has been used successfully in cities across Ohio, and the approach remains consistent, targeted, collaborative, and shaped by the needs of each community. Here's how these operations will work. First, data-driven deployment. These are focused, intelligence-led operations, directing efforts towards the small number of individuals responsible for the majority of violent crime. We use real-time data to identify high crime areas and repeat offenders, ensuring our efforts are precise and targeted. Second, strategic collaboration. These operations bring together a unifying team consisting of patrol troopers, local officers, federal partners, specialized units, and the patrol's aviation assets. In particular, the patrol's aviation section plays a critical role during pursuits, helping to reduce the risk and liability, and that's very, very important, reduce the risk and liability while tracking criminal activity from above. By working side by side with shared communication and coordinated command, we strengthen officer safety, improve our ability to respond quickly, and create a more comprehensive approach to violent crime. And third, specialized enforcement. Each operation is centered around the needs of the community it supports. Here in Dayton, that includes assisting with high-risk offenders, supporting saturation patrols in areas experiencing increased violence, and partnering with the Ohio Investigative Unit and Adult Parole Authority to address locations or environments where violent crime tends to occur. For the people of Dayton, here's what this means. It means safer streets, it means fewer victims, and it means neighborhoods gaining stability and peace. These operations are about protection. They're about reinforcing the sense of security every resident deserves. And they're about showing the power of partnerships and collaboration. Because when law enforcement at every level works together, and I say this a lot, we can make a real lasting difference. Violent crime is a challenge faced by communities across Ohio, which is why this model is being used statewide. We know it works. The goal is the same everywhere: to help residents feel safe and to ensure they are safe. We are proud to stand with the dedicated law enforcement officers serving the Dayton region. Their commitment to this community is unwavering, and the Ohio State Highway Patrol is honored to support their efforts with our resources. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to Governor DeWine. Governor?
Colonel, thank you very much. Happy to answer any questions.
guys. No,
this
we were good.
this is a
but no,
first.
was
This is
questions.
good. This is a first.
Not a test.
Governor DeWine, is this reducing the chance of the federal government, say, the National Guard or Border Patrol in here to handle crime?
Well, I don't know, I can't speak for the federal government, but what I can tell you is that when we look at the assets that we can deploy as far as the state, and when we're dealing with the issue of violent crime, violent criminals, this is the best thing we can do. This is the most appropriate response because it is very targeted. You have law enforcement officers who bring significant talent, different types of talent. As you see, we have 4 different agencies from the state of Ohio involved. That's the best way to go after violent crime. I will state again, this doesn't work at all without that really close relationship, in this case with the Dayton Police Department. That relationship has to exist. It's existed for a long time, and we just, our men and women like working with the men and women of the Dayton Police Department. They do a phenomenal job. Anybody else? Yeah, it's been successful wherever we have used it. We've used it in a number of different cities. Andy, you want to elaborate on that?
Sure. So we've been in Cleveland, Cincinnati, Toledo, Dayton, Youngstown. Let me give you an example. The best example I can use of success is Youngstown. So Youngstown brought us up in 2021. They had a rash of shootings and homicides. We took our analysts and studied what was going on. Like the governor said, they had right around, it was between 60 and 70 shootings. Now those aren't all of people, they're cars, houses, shots fired. And we were able to use our analysts to track those down to 6 people. So then we start focusing, or they start focusing their resources and their investigation on those 6 people. And that was a model, again, with us surging our resources in and focusing on those specific folks that we know are committing crime. I was in Youngstown, I don't know, maybe a month ago, and we were talking about this issue. And at that time, I think they had 8 homicides. I think 2021 they might have had 31. That's what I remember. But as of like October, they had 8 homicides. What's remarkable is from June of this summer, June 2025, to the first week of September, they had no homicides. And anybody who knows anything about violent crime, your summer is where you have your spikes in homicide. And that is such a great testament to how collaboration, how intelligence-based policing when it comes to reducing violent crime works. I also like to give a plug, again, to the mayor, to the chief, with respect to what you're doing here with technology. We were in your real-time crime center that you have here during these operations. We put our analysts there. And some of the bigger cities, so Cleveland has a real-time crime center, Cincinnati has a real-time crime center, Toledo has a real-time crime center. What you have here is remarkable, and the way you're using this real-time crime center. And basically what that is doing is it's quickly gathering intelligence or information about crime that's happening, and it's almost like an air traffic control center. It's just directing resources to rapidly respond. And you put analysts in there who are force multipliers. What's really remarkable is you were able to do it at a cost or economically in a way that really, I think, may be a model for other cities to follow. As a matter of fact, since we were up in your real-time crime center, we have talked to other cities about, hey, you need to go see Dayton, or, hey, look, maybe we should look at the state taking and building some of these for some of the communities that may not know how to do it or may not have the budget to deal with a vendor. You guys did a great job here.
Great. Anybody else? Well,
we're doing in-kind services. How about that? I mean, we've got a helicopter up. That's something that, again, the city of Dayton or cities like it just can't afford. We've got troopers on the ground. We've got, so we are resource heavy. We're putting a lot of resources in right now. And we have our Office of Criminal Justice Services. There's a lot of grant funding that we send down to the city to help with violent crime reduction. And as a matter of fact, our state violent crime grants, I think, just are going out for opening applications, I think maybe this week, next week. So we are today. How about that? Today. So yes, we do support the cities through grant funding with respect to violent crime reduction. That's something Governor DeWine put in his very first budget when he came in. We started looking at how we could get some of the money for this, or how we get monies to local agencies for this specific issue.
One more question, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
You just mentioned that you did an assessment for Youngstown before you looked at intervention.
Yes.
Have you done that assessment for Dayton?
And we're working on a similar project right now for Dayton.
Yeah, Corey, I've kind of briefly mentioned it. I'm not going to go in details, but we are looking at things that have happened in the past that are happening and see what kind of connectivity do we have. A lot of times when we are dealing with serious violent crimes, we are dealing at the moment because there's a victim, trying to figure out who has done it and trying to bring them to justice. A lot of times at the local level, we might not have the resources to think about the connectivity, to say, because we don't necessarily have traditional gangs that you might see in other cities, but I would say they probably have criminal enterprises. So we are looking at that kind of information to see, can we then utilize that? Kind of the model, to be honest, an unfortunate tragedy with Detective Del Rio when he was shot and killed. So what brought everybody to justice was actually the fact that we looked at the criminal enterprise. So we're looking at that approach to see if that is something that we can utilize to go after individuals that are truly responsible for the majority of our crime. I think some of the stats that we have looked at it of repeat offenders, we might have like 150 people, 150, 200 people. That's 0.11% of our population. That really is the core problem in our city. That's less than 1%. We were talking about. So we're looking at that approach. When Director Wilson talked about that, it's like, well, we can look at our data because we do have a lot of data points to see if we can make an activity. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah. Well, that's a normal process in terms of how we transition. So that's an ongoing process that happens on a regular basis, okay? What I will say is that, remember in 2022, we received a national award for the National League of Cities because of our police reform project. One of the type of things that we talked about in that all centered around a lot of technology, a lot of collaboration going on in those spaces, and you see the results of that right now. Again, as mayor, as we travel around the city with different organizations that we're engaged in, they're always talking about elements of safety. And I think one of the past presidents, if you will, was a former police chief in Florida. But we talked about these issues because they're so important as far as the citizens are concerned. So as we make the movements that we are continuously making in terms of more and more investments in all parts of the city of Dayton, all neighborhoods in the city of Dayton, the whole concept of safety is something that's very, very important for us to talk about as far as our young people are concerned. You know, a couple of years ago, we lost the life of a young man, 18 years old, who was just weeks away from graduation. We talked about some of the issues at that particular point in time about collaboration again. And these types of things, these conversations, this concept, the ability to keep people safe, the ability to have real-time information so we can plan better to, again, increase the safety of all the citizens that we have in the city of Dayton. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
You've been a staunch advocate of programs to support the youth, rehab, and things of that sort. How does rehabilitation play into this model?
Oh, special. It's special in a lot of ways. Of course, for those who may or may not know, being a former teacher and a coach, and a parent, grandparent, of course, of young people in the city of Dayton and mentoring young people for more than 50 years, when I talk to them about the God-given talents that they have and the responsibility of adults to create the safety factors for them, as well as a variety of spaces through curriculum and other activities to make sure that they find and hone and develop their talents. So when they are ready to graduate, they have a set of skills that they can use, whether it's going to college or going to the military or going to the workforce. They have that right, but they also have that responsibility. And then we have the responsibility of the collaboration with all the forces that we have in the city at our disposal and the state to, again, as I talked with the governor before, making sure that they're prepared to move out into society and be the best citizen they could be. If they're not going to college, they're not going to the military, and they're not going to the workforce, they are a challenge somewhere along the line, and we're trying to do everything we can to make sure they have those skills and more to be able to make their positive contribution to our community, and communities across the state of Ohio as well.
But are there rehab programs for violent offenders who do end up going through the
Well,
program?
thank you. So you asked me a deeper question. Good. Cure Violence Global. That's the issue that we're working with the whole peace campaign. And you see, I don't leave the house without my lapel pin talking about the whole aspect of peace as far as the city of Dayton is concerned. The chief mentioned it a few moments ago, trying to make Dayton the most peaceful city in the world. It takes a lot of work to make those things happen, and we have our commissioners who have bought into that process. The new mayor has bought into that process. We're going to work in terms of keeping those individuals who are consistently being engaged with the different committees that we have. And one of the bigger, stronger committees that we have, besides the aspect of working with our law enforcement and others to identify those key repeat offenders, if you will, for lack of another word, to minimize them and try to prevent them from doing the work that they've been doing in those spaces. But the youth development piece is another critical component. And that is, again, addressing the young people at a point in time earlier in their educational career, earlier in their lives, not just high school, middle and also elementary school, to help them understand their self-value, and then give them the tools and skills to be able to identify and resolve conflict at its lowest level, and then to be able to engage with activities with the different youth-serving partners that we have throughout the city of Dayton. And we do have a lot. We have a lot, and sometimes they're not always working together as much as we would like for them to do, but we have a lot of committed people in this city who want to make great things happen as far as our young people is concerned. So keeping them engaged in those spaces, helping reinforce the fact that they have value, they have skills, they have talent, and want to help them be in the space where they can use those talents. We're thankful in terms of getting support from the state budget last year with some additional support in terms of building a new Boys and Girls Club that we have here in the city of Dayton. That hasn't been touched since the time I was going to that Boys and Girls Club way back in my elementary days. So the work that we're doing in these spaces is really, really important for this community.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else?
Earlier you were saying that, you know, there's a bit of an issue with the courts on how they release some people who are repeat offenders, you know, with low bail or bond. Where do you draw the line on giving people a second chance and also, you know, cracking down on those repeat offenders?
Yeah, well, you saw the stats. Again, a lot of our crime, a lot of our violent crime is being committed by people who have 5+ convictions. Fighting violent crime and keeping a community safe is a three-legged stool. You got the law enforcement, you got the prosecutors, and you got the courts. In order for it to be done right, all three of those legs, they all have their independent function, all right? The courts have to protect the rights of the citizens, they have to make sure everybody's getting a fair shake, but they also have a responsibility to keep that community safe. And if any one of those legs isn't doing their part in keeping the community safe, i.e. turning out clearly violent offenders back into the streets, then the whole stool is shaky, and the whole system isn't working the way it should be to keep people safe. So the courts, again, we got to get away from just rubber stamping bonds and being like, oh, it's this offense, it's this amount. You got to look at the individual. You got to look at that criminal history. You got to look at the fact that they were caught running with guns and ask the question, why does this guy have a gun? And then you got to set a bond or craft a sentence that adequately protects the public. And we need our courts to do that, because otherwise our law enforcement officers are just you're gonna burn them out. They're out there just busting their hump, putting themselves at risk every single day to keep people safe, only to deal with the same people again and again. And again, it's not like I'm talking about shoplifters, even though we can talk about fixing broken windows, that type of stuff. I'm talking about people who are carrying guns. People who are carrying those guns, who are violent repeat offenders, who are carrying those guns only because they're going to use them. And those are the people who end up killing people, and then everybody's like, well, why? How did this happen? We just have to everybody has to do their part.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mayor.
Appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.